Mic check 1 2 1 2. We are live in the building. Welcome back to the Beautiful Struggle podcast with myself, Jay Davis, aka Magic Eye or Magic. On my lonesome today in the office, which is a little bit weird. I am known to ramble to the camera on my own on my YouTube channel, but I am going to be sitting here for this episode just talking to you guys obviously via YouTube, or if you're listening on Spotify, listening to my monotone Welsh accent via your speakers. So we'll see how long this episode lasts, because I've got no one to bounce off, no questions to kind of push to someone to kind of fill the gaps. So I'll go for as long as I possibly can. There's a lot to cover. Hence why I'm doing this episode. You know, it is a milestone episode number 20. Like we did with episode 10 where we got the wives on, I thought it'd be quite fitting to kind of just touch on me personally after obviously having so many guests on in a row. Kind of just get into what I've been going through and getting up to. And I just want to start this episode really by saying thank you to every single person that not only supports the podcast but actually supports me personally. I've recently had a lot of love shown to me, via the DMs on Instagram and that, just with what I've been going through, which I'll obviously cover in this episode. But it's not until something happens you really see the support you get. Obviously, you know, we get the likes on Instagram and the comments and the fire emojis on certain things that we post. But when to put it bluntly, shit hits the fan, that's kind of when you see who's really there supporting. You know, whether it's just a random person on Instagram, for them to go out their way and drop you a message, it means a lot. So that's how I want to start this episode, just by really thanking everyone for the love and the support via the DMs. And I am aware there may be some of you watching this going, he still hasn't replied to me. Honestly, I've never experienced an influx of DMs like I have over the last 2 weeks. I think the last time I felt like that was when I won the Mr. Wales last year. So I've not replied purely because at the time I just wasn't up to it. And that's it. I just wasn't up to it. I'd reply to a few messages and then I would be like, I've got to put my phone down. Didn't want to look at my phone, which I'll get into, obviously, and you're probably watching this already kind of knowing what I've been through. But I just want to kind of take it back a few weeks anyway, before the most recent events that I've been going through. But just with the halt in episodes for the podcast and my own YouTube and everything, because my schedule just went mad after prep, really. And I think people were just kind of waiting for me to stop prep to book in with me, with obviously Magic Eye, because my travelling schedule went through the roof. Clients from different countries all over the world, from Germany, Poland, Spain, obviously my UK guys as well. Got to show love to them. But, you know, I did a lot of travelling. I think it was 9 flights in 4 weeks, basically, and within that 9 flights, I travelled to Romania, Ruiz, which is kind of I think that's how you pronounce it. It's just basically down the road from Barcelona. We'll call it Barcelona, even though I didn't actually get to see Barcelona. And then Milan, and then Alicante, just down the road from Benidorm. I was actually in Alicante this time as well. I've been known to be in Benidorm, on the strip, tagging myself in Alicante so people didn't know I was in Benidorm. But I was actually in Alicante this time, filming for obviously a lot of different clients, different bodybuilding shows, pro qualifiers, natural bodybuilding shows. And it truly was a struggle. Obviously I've worked to get to this point where Magic Eye is being recognised internationally, and it definitely was while I was away. You know, I had people coming up to me that couldn't even speak the same language but knew who I was because of they've seen, you know, they follow on Instagram, or I had my Magic Eye t-shirt on and they knew the name. So getting recognition from those people was amazing. And then there were other people that I was actually getting into conversations with, broken English conversations, but, you know, conversations with them showing gratitude to how much my work has inspired them, obviously with the people that I film and things like that. So that was very cool to hear. The struggle with all that, in all honesty, was just the language barrier, because for 3 of the 4 trips that I did, I was with people of a different language, Spanish and German, and a lot of people in the mix within that like language pocket as well. So we had an apartment in Milan. There was like 9 of us staying in a 6-bedroom apartment, me being one of the 9, the only one that spoke English. And there were times where I'd be sitting there in a room with the 8 other people in the apartment, and they would all be having a full conversation in German, and I'd literally be sitting there kind of twiddling my thumbs. And when I was, when it was appropriate for me to be involved in the conversation, a broken English conversation would kind of start, and that kind of took its toll on me a little bit after that trip, because I started getting really paranoid, because I'd be sitting there thinking, are they talking about me in German? And of course they weren't. I was there commissioned. They brought me over to do the work for them because they love my work so much. So of course they weren't sitting there talking about me, but you can't help yourself from spinning out and thinking, are they actually slating me here in front of my face? So after the first trip, with the German guys, and shout out to those if you do come across this podcast, the Olymp Germany team. I've made some friends for life, definitely, and I'm going to be doing a lot more content for Olymp going forward, as they've taken me on like on a contract or whatever. But yeah, shout out to you guys. But they don't know that it took its toll on me until they may watch this, but it definitely did. And that was Milan, and then I literally flew home from Milan. I was home one day, like saw my family for one day, and then I flew out to Alicante back with the Olymp team. Not as many of us. There wasn't 9 of us then. There was 4 in an apartment, me being one of the 4, the other guys being German, and then obviously we had like the German athlete teams out there as well. So yeah, it kind of it hurt a little bit, and at that time as well I was so like fixated on my off season that part of the deal of me going out there was that I needed my own time to go and train, of course, and that didn't happen either. So not only was I dealing with this paranoia of like, are they talking about me, but I was also dealing with the mental, break in my head that I was like, I'm not even training you, because I probably would have took the edge off massively for me, really, just blowing the steam off 2 hours in the gym, and I just didn't get the opportunity. Got 1 training session in like 9 days between the 2 countries, whereas I'd kind of agreed to have that time to myself in those trips, and I just didn't get it. And that's through no fault of anyone, just because the workload is quite demanding on these trips. I'm there to shoot content for athletes, for brands, documenting the lead up to them stepping on stage. And even though it's quite a boring process, anyone that's done shows will know those last couple of days are quite boring. But in terms of actually recording content, you've kind of got to be on hand there, ready for when something happens, so the content isn't missed. So when you say, you've got me for 6 hours a day, and then you've got 18 hours spare time, some of that is going to be, well, I say sleep. Didn't sleep much, but then I've got to edit the content, and then for me to try and have like a 4-hour window really to go and train, and that by the time I get to the gym, train, come back, shower and all that, it just became impossible. So that really got to me on those trips. And in Barcelona or Ruiz with the Barrio boys, we had a villa, it was mint, we had a pool, it was proper, but again surrounded by people of a different culture, different language, Spanish conversations going on all around me. And fair play to all the guys, they would always try and accommodate me and try and speak as much English as possible. But then when they get in the flow of having a full-on Spanish conversation, you're just sitting there twiddling your thumbs and again falling down that pit of paranoia, and that obviously that's going to be on me, that's my own demons. But that was a struggle. And on top of that, you're literally away from home, you're travelling from this airport, that airport, you're having to organise your times. It was a task, but we got it done. So 9 flights in 4 weeks, an amazing experience, amazing work opportunity, and for to see Magic Eye levelling up again was awesome. And then we returned from there to kick on with the off season. So I come back, got my bloods done. That saw me 10 weeks, like post-show, I think it was, 10, maybe 11 weeks. All the bloods done, they came back all good, so me and Cal started ramping things up for the off-season. And we started trickling up in terms of body weight, where, we were looking to get up to about 260 in this off-season. If we're talking about my own bodybuilding, my amateur career, we were looking to get up to about 260 peak body weight to come back down and try and step on stage next year like 225, where I stepped on stage this year at 210 and last year at 200. So £10 on last year to this year, and we were looking to add another £15 going into next year. So I started hitting new body weights, got up to like 244.8, and if I'm being completely and truthfully honest with myself, I was probably missing a little bit of food. I was struggling to get to like 4,500 calories. Not so much that I wasn't hungry for it, but just meal timings and getting it in around work and things. And there was only 1 or 2 days I would like eat early enough to get all the food in. So for me to still hit 244.8 whilst missing food, I knew 260 was going to be easy to get, really, probably by Christmas. And then that's like, if I'm looking to compete late next year, that could see me, get into bloody 270 or something maybe. So we got to like 244.8, and then shit hit the fan, really. I'm a HR Labs athlete, or not obviously, but you may know I'm a HR Labs athlete. And it was the PCA finals going back 2.5 weeks ago now. And I was up there as my first ever time as an athlete on the stand, giving out obviously samples, speaking to people. Had a lot of viewers of the podcast come up to me as well. So if you're watching this, thank you for your comments, for coming up and just chatting away. So I was at the expo on the stand both days, and got back from there on the Sunday after being there for 2 days. The Monday, I just woke up and I did not feel right. Stomach in pain, and I went and trained legs because I'd been away for all weekend and I hadn't trained, and we've got to train. I went and trained legs knowing I wasn't right, and I left that gym in the worst pain I've ever felt. Now, not like pain in my legs from training, I'm talking physical, actual pain in my stomach and my abdomen. It was horrendous. It was like pressure, like pushing down. Never experienced anything like it in my life. Went and picked my daughter up from school. I was literally sitting outside the school, almost in tears, in pain, which is counting seconds really for it to come out. Managed to get home in one piece, and then straight to the bathroom. Bit too much information, but vomiting, and then the only thing all I wanted to do was just lie on the bed, and I went straight from the bathroom to the bed, and the bed is where I stayed for 2 weeks. I could not walk with the amount of pain that I was in. Food poisoning, not sure where this kind of come from. All I know is that this is the worst I've ever experienced. I've had food poisoning before. This went on for a couple of days, the normal kind of effects of food poisoning, but it wasn't that was affecting me. It's this pressure and pain in my abdomen, which was different. I said to Carla, the wife, I was like, something's up here because this does not feel right. Like really low down in my stomach and my abdomen. It got to like the Wednesday night, and like the third night of being in pain through the night and not being able to sleep. Finally went to the doctors, and because obviously I was a bigger chap, as she put it, the doctor, she was concerned about like the kidneys and that, because I hadn't drunk at that point for very minimal. I was severely dehydrated. I hadn't eaten from that Monday morning through to that Thursday, so that was like day 4. So she was concerned about my kidneys, like working overtime because of wastage and muscle wastage and things. And she admitted me to hospital, got my bloods done. They came back and they gave me antibiotics. So I started those the next day. And like, the food poisoning kind of started settling down. Not that I was eating anything, but it just wasn't like as severe with the vomiting and diarrhea and everything. It is what it is. It comes with food poisoning. We know the crack. But I just started having, like, this pain started getting worse and worse, and we're into day 5 now of not eating. So that's 5 days of no food. My 244.8 was now 224. Like, £20 had gone in 5 days, basically, and I knew it. I could just feel it on myself. And at this point, this was 5 days of me lying in bed, and the only time I would get up would be to hobble to the ensuite bathroom, which was 5 foot away from the bed, to try and go to the toilet. But obviously I haven't eaten or drunk anything, so nothing was happening. It was just this pain and pressure, like I needed to go. Struggled through that weekend, through to the Sunday. Again, the Sunday night, worst pain I've ever been in, to the point where I'm actually crying in pain in bed. I'm man enough to admit that. And the missus said, look, you're going to have to go back to the doctors and see what they're going to do. So we went back to the doctors on the Monday. They admitted me again, and they just done a lot of tests on me, ultrasounds. They were concerned again because my stats were all quite low, oxygen was low, I had a fever, and kept me in hospital basically for, 2 hospitals. I was in one hospital for 2 or 3 nights on new antibiotics to try and solve this issue that I was experiencing. Without going into too much information, I basically had like an infection low down, causing a lot of swelling and fluid retention, and that pain was there. Like, the pain was there to the point where if I lie down in bed on my back in one position and I'd find that comfortable, great. But if I'd have to get up to go to the toilet or whatever and then come back to that same position, because I'd moved, it was like my insides had twisted and that was no longer comfortable. So I'd have to find a comfortable position, which may not be a comfortable position, and then just stay there for me to be like not in pain. So that was that. And then because of what the condition I had with this infection, they transferred me to a different hospital, the most vulnerable I've ever felt in my life, where I'd also been put on oxygen because obviously my oxygen was low, so I had tubes going up my nose, and then I had pushed through the hospital in a wheelchair, tubes up my nose with the oxygen, the guy carrying the oxygen tank puts me on an ambulance, puts me in a stretcher, straps me in to go down the motorway to the next hospital, and then carting me through the hospital in a stretcher holding an oxygen tank with these tubes up my nose. And I'm like, what's fucking going on here? So we spent one night in that hospital. The specialist come to see me and he said he was quite happy for me to go home, recover from home, see out the course of antibiotics, 2 a day for 14 days. I'm still in the mix of it. I'm still in this struggle, but I thought it'd be good for me to jump on and kind of talk about it, because people are still asking me what's going on. They just think I've been exaggerating food poisoning. It wasn't food poisoning. The food poisoning simmered down after 4 days. It was all this other stuff going on with me. And, touch wood, it's going to continue to be better. So that was like literally last week. This is days away. So I've been seeing out these antibiotics, and I am getting better day by day. It's very slow. You can't really see or feel any difference in terms of the level of pain and that day to day. It's only when you kind of look back 2 or 3 days you can see I'm definitely better than I was there, and that's the only gauge I've got right now. Doctors want to see me in like 4 to 6 weeks to do a full checkup, but that's my only gauge. And you might be watching this or listening and thinking, you've just talked about this hospital experience, and it's like, it's bad, but like, we'll get to the point kind of thing. And this is like a moment of realization for me, if I'm honest. And it's been a difficult one to actually come to, because of the mindset and the mentality that I kind of got about things. And I'm not one to make hasty decisions. I like to sit on it, and I've said this to a few people, the analogy I like to give, anyone that knows me knows I love my Jordans, and if a new pair of Jordans drop, I don't just jump straight in. I like to sit on it and think, right, do I really want to spend 170 quid on this new pair of Jordans that have dropped when I've already got all these sitting here, or should I just wait? And I'd sit on it, and I like to sit on ideas and think, if I'm still thinking about it in, not so much with Jordans like 5 days time, but if I'm thinking about that in a month's time or 2 months time, then I'll get them or whatever. But with this, what I'm talking about now, it was like days. And for 5 days, I literally lying in bed in hospital, looking at the same four walls and the ceiling. Like I said earlier, not really going on my phone because, number one, I didn't want to see what everyone was up to outside of the gym, because obviously the people that I follow are on the same kind of path. And I didn't want to see it, so I didn't really look at my phone. There's a lot of messages that I didn't actually reply to for a while, and that's the reason why, if you're wondering. Going through some shit. I was going through some shit in my head, and I needed to figure it out. And the best way of doing that was to like be on my own in a hospital, of all places, looking at the ceiling. I found myself just looking at the ceiling or going to sleep, because sleep was the only thing that would get the pain away, really. Get some painkillers down me, wait for those to kick in, and then just try and get sleep. And I slept a lot. Again, those who know me know I don't sleep much. But yeah, I slept a lot during that 2 weeks. So basically for 5 days, I was thinking about one thing, and that was, do I really want to pursue competitive bodybuilding anymore? You know, with me, you know, lying in this hospital bed through something that is not related whatsoever to bodybuilding and what we have to do as competitive bodybuilders, but still lying there in pain, thinking one day this could be me lying here because of something that I've done to myself, something that I've caused myself, and how would I feel? And I sat on that for 5 days, just thinking, you know, is it worth it? Like, what's the end goal with it? Yeah, I want to get to 10 years of my transformation to achieve, you know, say I've done 10 years of it. I'm weird with numbers, but what's going to come of it? Like, when I look back at what I've achieved over the last 2 years, when competitive bodybuilding was never even a thing for me, I was not asked. But just a flick switched in my head one day, and then I wanted to go and get it done before it's too late. But again, like, how far do you push it before it is too late? That's what I was thinking in hospital. Started thinking about what I'd already achieved in the short space of time that I'd done it. You know, I've walked away with like 5 first places in heavyweight and the novice and first timers. I've won a third places in the heavyweight lineup against legit bodybuilders that have done it a lot longer than me. And of course the big one, the Mr. Wales title last year, which I'll never top that moment. I think the only thing that would top that would be, like, you know, the pro card win. And I'm very realistic knowing, because I'm around so many pros and I've seen what it takes and what kind of physique you need to have to be a pro. I know that's not really a possibility for me. And if I was to even get a pro card at some point, maybe I was lucky in an international show where they're giving, you know, 3 pro cards out to, you know, to the top 3, and I get one. What then? You know, I know what's then, because I know what kind of mindset I've got. And that would be, I got to push more now. It wouldn't be good enough. Like, next year, if I won that pro card, even though it's the 10 years and I said I was, you know, calling it a day at 40, seeing that pro card up there, and I'd be like, right, I've got to get better now. I gotta push even harder. And that's when I started thinking, obviously, holed up in that fucking hospital bed, like, when is enough enough? And enough is enough. There's only a few people that know. Like, I didn't tell a soul for 5 days. The first person I told was Cal. I said, I think my endeavours within this bodybuilding thing are done, bro. And his reply, as you'd expect it to be from someone of Cal's level, is like, mate, when you know the time is right, the time is right. You've got nothing to prove. And I haven't. And I can sit here and put my chest out saying I've got nothing to prove. Those that know what I've done, and know what I've achieved, and know what I've done in the short space of time that I've done it. I've got these pictures up in my office. As vain as it is, I have got pictures on my wall of me from the shows last year. I actually need to get some more done from these shows this year, but I'm very proud of myself with what I've achieved. And it takes a moment like what I've just been through, where you're sitting there in ill health, to realise like no regrets. No regrets was my thing about going for it with the bodybuilding stuff. It's got to be no regrets now that I made the call before it was too late. Before I am lying in that hospital bed because I've pushed too hard. Because I will push too hard, because that's the mindset I've got. So it's been the word I've used to kind of describe this epiphany is clarity. It's given me a lot of clarity, in terms of my age, what I've done, but what could happen if I continue. We've seen so many over the last few years, deaths, people falling ill, and I'm not saying that I'm on that level whatsoever, because I know I'm not, but like we've all seen what I've done in the last 2 years. I mean, I think it's apparent that I would continue to do that, and I've just got to pivot my focus into something else now. And I'm relieved, if I'm honest. I'm fully relieved with the decision, because it's like this pressure that I didn't even know I had on myself has just been lifted and thrown to one side just by saying that out loud. So I told Cal, I texted the missus, seen one of the boys, Sully, popped up to see me, told him, told Liam, my training partners, and a few people that from the gym found out today, as I've been going back to the gym, just to kind of sprinkle normality back into my life. I'm a big one on where the mind goes, the body follows. So I said to myself Sunday, I'm dragging myself back to health from tomorrow, which was yesterday, and getting back in the gym, and I'm just going to start moving more and getting back to normal life, really. So there's a few people that know my plans, or lack of plans now, because the plans are done, and there will be no more me stepping on stage. And I know some people are probably going to watch this or listen to this and think, oh, it's a hasty decision, it's a panicky decision, but ultimately it's not, because I'm not defined by bodybuilding. Bodybuilding was and is and will remain a glorified hobby for me. It's just the competitive side kind of sucked me in the last 2 years, and I've loved every second of it, but I've loved every second of it knowing the fact that I can get out of it while I still can. And I'm pretty sure that my peers, if any of the guys watch this, will absolutely agree, and probably pat me on the back for the decision of having the balls to actually even do this and walk away while I can. Because there's a lot of people out there that are very deluded with it, and unfortunately for them, they can't get sucked out of it, because ultimately it is their identity. And I'm thankful that my identity is not that, and I am, grateful that I've got other things that I can pursue, and my business and stuff, and just put more effort and focus into those things. This doesn't mean I'm not going to train. I'm still going to be training. You're still going to be seeing me pendulum squat in the world. It just doesn't mean that I'm going to be doing silly shit, or not so much silly shit, but just doing things that I don't have to do. And I don't really want to go into any more. Those that know, which is going to be 99% of the people that watch this, know what I'm talking about. I'm just not going to be doing it anymore. We're just going to be remaining healthy, focused on that, and staying in shape. And to be honest, this, the weight loss, I don't think I touched on that. The total weight loss was 30 pounds down from my peak body weight of 244.8. 214.4, which is 4 pounds up from stage weight this year, and I quite like my face at this weight, to be honest. So we're going to try and hold on to this and just let my body weight creep back up to where it's comfortable and stay in shape, and then obviously just tweak the diet from there going forward with holidays and all that jazz. So that's the episode. That's my current beautiful struggle that I've been going through. I'm not sure how long this is. I can't see the timer on the camera from you, but it might be a quick one. It might just be a ramble, and hopefully you've stuck around to kind of listen to what I've gone through, and hopefully there might be someone out there that has maybe got those subconscious thoughts but just can't make the decision themselves, and by me putting out there that I've made the decision off my own back will help them make the decision and encourage them to do it. And again, like, this doesn't mean I disagree with bodybuilding and competitive bodybuilding and everything that people have to do to compete. I will still be going to watch shows. I'm still a huge fan of it. The Olympias this weekend, I cannot fucking wait to watch it. I still support everything within bodybuilding. It's just me personally, myself. It's a wrap. Time's up. The race against time. Time is up. So, thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. I will still be on the gram, like I said. So, feel free to comment below your thoughts on it. Drop me a message. Tag me on Instagram stories if you're tuned in. The Beautiful Struggle Podcast, obviously, at The Beautiful Struggle Podcast, at jdavis_UK, at Magic Eye Media, at Heavy Duty Gymwear. Shout out to Ollie and the crew. TBSP for money off any purchase. Don't forget to use that. And obviously, HR Labs, Magic 15 for purchase directly from their website. And that is it. Thank you for watching. Like, comment, subscribe. As I said at the beginning, we have got more guests lined up. I've actually got a certain garden, it's not an ornament, a piece of garden equipment lined up for the next episode. Answers on a postcard. Or I could just say the shed is lined up. So I look forward to doing that one with him. That's going to be deep, no doubt. He actually texted me last night checking in on me. And when I say, you know, the love, it's those kind of messages when you're getting people of that stature in the industry that are reaching out to check I'm okay. Jordan, James, you know, it shows where I sit, and it shows what people think of me, and I'm forever grateful for that. And it just shows I'm being true and real and authentic to who I am. So yeah, thank you very much once again. I'm definitely ending on this one now before I ramble even more. Like, comment, subscribe. Thank you for listening, and I will see you on the next episode. Peace.